Hello my friends, and welcome to what is definitely going to be the most subdued ups and downs ever. We are going to talk about SmackDown, but we're literally just going to have a conversation about it because I'm in some strange tent. Now, I can't tell you why I'm in some strange tent, but you know the deal. When it comes to ups and downs, we never miss an episode unless things are really, really bad, and they're not really, really, really bad. Just sometimes life things come up. It's enough about me, Simon Miller. You don't care about that, but you know what? If you ever wanted to have a conversational SmackDown ups and downs, because I can't talk very loud, do I have the episode for you? But we did start with a big old recap of what happened to Kevin Owens last week, courtesy of the Bloodline, and they killed him. Well, we cut to Nick Aldis, and he was talking to the Line of Blood. And because Tangaloa had been poked in the eye, which he was indeed selling 7 days ago, Nick was like, I'm really sorry, boys. You're not allowed to be in the Tag Team Gauntlet. And you'd like to think because they had been murdering people, that would be the reason they weren't put in to a #1 contender tournament, essentially. But no, it's because somebody had some fluff in their seeing device when the Bloodline went, well, hey, Tamatonga can just team with Jacob for 2. Nick Aldis went, yeah, that sounds fine. And that's the end of that. We then saw LA Knight walking backstage to the ring, and he said something along the lines of, I'm going to teach Santos Escobar some history. I was like, it's going to be very hard when somebody is punching you in the face. But it was indeed Santos versus Knight because, of course, Escobar very rightly had said, well, nobody pinned me in that 3-way Money in the Bank qualifier. And I was convinced at the end of this, Logan Paul would come out. He would cast distraction, WWE and pro wrestling's favourite thing. And then LA Knight would be like, oh, I can't believe you cost me the match. Now, Logan Paul was here, but he did not do any of this. I mean, Escobar's big plan as well when the bell rang was to just run at LA Knight, who moved out the way, and he proceeded to whoop his tickets until, of course, LA Knight was giving him the 10 punches in the corner, and Santos grabbed his head and he pulled it right into the turnbuckle. And like, that's one way to do it. We then got to the chops, and I think because Legado del Fantasma does like that noise, Santos Escobar then took the ref so Elektra Lopez could walk up to LA Knight and give him a big slap. But you just heard there, it's the evidence, they sound exactly the same. We also allowed Santos to hit the 619, which did take us into the commercial break, was very interesting. When we came back, he slammed LA Knight with the double knees. This is when I was like, this is going the wrong way, because if Santos was going to win, right now he'd be losing, or something. Knight did come back with a bunch of elbows and stomps, which is when Logan Paul did run to the ring. But LA Knight was just Naya, which is the opposite of what he usually says. He clotheslined him, and it looked like Escobar was going to hit the Phantom Driver. Instead, LA Knight just grabbed him, BFT 1, 2, 3. To be fair, that does rhyme, so it must be true. Now, Knight and Paul did get into it afterwards until Santos Escobar was back, and he helped out Logan Paul with the wrestling numbers game, and they even shook hands, so I don't really know what that means. But look, the match was perfectly fine. I enjoyed it. LA Knight is definitely winning that belt at SummerSlam, which is super duper exciting, so that's getting an up. But I just think it was right there. It's such an easy storyline. If Santos Escobar does beat LA Knight here, courtesy of help from Logan Paul, then when LA Knight does win that belt at Hot WrestleMania, who could be his first contender? Santos Escobar. And I have a feeling it's going to be his first contender for that belt anyway. This would have made more sense. But because sometimes I like being a nerd, that's a down. We then had a Naomi interview, and she only had one thing she really wanted to say. What the flub is up with Blair Davenport? This is because Blair keeps attacking her and saying horrible things. When Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair walked in, they said, you know what, Naomi, you are right. See ya. They just walked to the ring. I think they're very good friends. We also cut to Logan Paul, who was walking backstage here as well, and he said something along the lines of, I have a surprise for LA Knight when we get to SummerSlam, because I'm the face of Cleveland. Now, do not forget, in all other major premium live events, Logan has always brought someone like a KSI or an iShow Speed. So maybe another YouTuber is going to turn up. Listen, I'll tell you for free. It ain't me, so I don't know. But I suppose this is a good tease. Something going down in Cleveland. This is when Bianca and Cargill did come to the ring, so at least they'd mugged Naomi off for a specific reason. And they essentially said, oh, hello, Isla Dawn and Alba Fyre. We don't much like you, and we want you to come out here and accept our challenge for those tag team titles. Which is when the championship music started to play, which made Jade and Bianca look very silly, because who appeared from behind them and whooped their ass? There's Isla Dawn and Alba Fyre. Now, because Cargill and Belair are booked like superheroes, they still absolutely whoop their ass. I'm a little bit worried about predicting this because I presume it will go down at SummerSlam or maybe the SmackDown before SummerSlam. Because if you had told me before Clash at the Castle, Jade and Bianca weren't winning, I would have called you a silly boy. So I'm just going to wait and see here, but I do have to say, this came and went with no real gusto. You know my opinion on the Women's Tag Team Championships. I just think we could do so much more with them. And here you do have two great teams, but it just needs like a thread woven through, so it's way more interesting, and we ain't getting it. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing bad with it. It was a perfectly fine segment, but actually what we are suffering with here is all the stuff we've done before this, and when those titles disappeared from TV, which almost means they need double the love, and I only think they're getting singular love. Nobody wants singular love. It means you're cold and lonely in the evenings. So I'm going to give it a down. Not because it was bad, but because I just think it could be better. Terence Crawford and the Street Profits then hooked up because Terence was still there. Like, SmackDown was a tape show, so it was in the same arena. But if you were watching it from a viewer's point of view, you must have been like, man, this Terence really likes this wrestling. We also saw Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, and Tiffany was so upset that her briefcase had been beaten up, but Nia's like, don't worry, my friend, I'm gonna get you a new one, and I will bet my head that when we do see this, it's gonna be super duper whooper pink. Which took us right into our tag team gauntlet to decide who is taking on DIY at SummerSlam. Given that Jacob Fatu had been substituted in here, well, it's pretty obvious who was going to win. We did start off with Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews taking on Legado del Fantasma though, so this was kind of cool, because these two teams have been beef recently, and now you can settle it in the gauntlet. Now Legado did try a jump start here, but Baron took over and just whipped their ass, and this is the way to treat Corbin. I think we all forget how big he is, so he should be treated like a big man, which is why later on, when Apollo did that thing when he grabs Baron and throws him to the outside as like a double positive offense strategy, we all need to sit there and go, well, that's absolutely ridiculous, because again, Baron Corbin, a big man. Now, Berto and Angel for a little bit did do some double teaming until Baron was back and he hit the end of days and he got the 1-2-3. Now, I'm going to spoil this for you. They do not go on to win the tag team gauntlet, but we need to re-establish end of the days, that's not what it's called, end of days, as a badass finish. So I thought this was all right, and mostly I'm such a big Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews fan, I was just over the moon they got a win. Up. Sadly though, they then did take on the Street Profits, and I was like, well, if I was going to guess anything, I would imagine Montes Ford and Angelo Dawkins go all the way to the last match. I was right. So the big thing we have to talk about is this back suplex that Montes Ford did on Apollo Crews, where I think I had somewhat of a meltdown. Again, I'm in a very quiet area. I can't talk loudly, but I honestly thought Apollo Crews was dead. It was absolutely terrifying. It all led to the big hot tag for Angelo Dawkins, which I do like, because he's like a forgotten saviour of that tag team. He's damn good. Well, of course, we got a dive from Montez, and we got a dive from Crews. Because how the hell are we going to have a tag team match in 2024 without dives? Ultimately, though, Dawkins got out of the way of Apollo. He cast dodge, which is when Montes Ford came off the top with the splash of the frogs, and they beat him for the 1-2-3. Now, I was a little bit sad here, because I just told you I really like Apollo and Baron, but I actually thought this was a fun match, and we really heated up the Street Profits here. You shall see. Up. Which is when Pretty Deadly were the next opponents, and man, do I love these two, because they looked at the situation and went, well, they have been beaten up a lot, why don't we do a bunch of pins? And none of them worked. Instead, they went to Ford's leg after this, because they chop blocked him. And then we're like, well, now we've got a brand new tactics, we can work over the leg, which is exactly what they did. And Montez started to limp. Amazingly, it all led to Angelo getting the hot tag ×2, which I was very happy with. Although he then ran into Kit Wilson, who smashed him with a DDT 1-2-0. They also hit a double gutbuster on Dawkins, but all that did is hit his go button, so he hoisted them up onto his shoulders. The Street Profits got the blockbuster 1-2-3. So yes, if the idea of this was to get the Street Profits back on track, well, we had already done a pretty good job. They are a good tag team. This is why I just think we should have one set of tag team belts across Raw and SmackDown. You could just choose them and send them to the moon. Either way up. Which is when the OC were back on the main roster, because they haven't been doing a lot of stuff down in NXT. And essentially, Gallows whooped Montes Ford's ass, so Anderson whooped Montes Ford's ass, and the whole time they are just so good at what they do. That's another team that could probably get a push. They're just so good at the fundamentals. It also meant we got to hot tag number 3 for Angelo Dawkins, although it was more like a lukewarm tag, but do you know what he did? A super duper mega dive? We've talked about it. Anderson didn't care for that though, so he smashed him with a spine buster for a 1-2. When this ended, you just knew one of them had to, with the most devastating move. In all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up. This was well worked too, because it was a tag team version of this, because Montes Ford grabbed Anderson's leg, he didn't know what was going on, which is when Angelo Dawkins decided, you know what, I'm just going to do it. They got the 1-2-3, and we should just have a feud between these two. Come up with some stupid story beef. Up. It also meant the Bloodline were the last team out, and they absolutely killed Angelo Dawkins. And even though they're meant to be the bad guys here, and even though I love the Street Profits, even my brain was going, I want the Bloodline to win. Who knows? Now, the best part, as always, is when Fatu tagged in there, he was just the ultimate beast. He ran through Angelo Dawkins like he was nothing. I swear at one point he was biting or eating the dude's finger. It's like, man, don't get kinky. But even when for two missed a dive and got thrown into the ring post, he basically just shakes it off and carries on going. So he's Taylor Swift. Ford finally got his hot tag and he was able to take out these two with a spine buster and an awesome super kick. But even then, you were just like, man, you don't want to piss off Jacob, man. He'll rip your head off. Eventually, Fatu did get his warm slap as well, and there was a little bit of miscommunication here, but I don't care, because exactly what we saw did come true. He ran through Axel Dawkins, he ran through Montes Ford, and he just hit that moonsault, and he got the 1, 2, 3. The part of my brain was like, he could probably win the tag team titles by himself. And that's not a slight on Tama Tonga either. That guy is absolutely awesome. It's just the way we're telling the story. But yeah, now at SummerSlam, or again, maybe the SmackDown before, it's DIY versus the Bloodline. As much as I love Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, all things considered, they should probably win. There's a good gauntlet. When, of course, out came Grayson Waller and Austin Theory, and they were like, oh, Terence Crawford, you screwed us over last week with Cody Rhodes, so we want our revenge. I'll just give you the headlines here. Terence got in the ring because he is a boxer, and because of Grayson's, I don't know what you call it, smack talk, who got laid out or knocked out? It wasn't Grayson Waller, it was Austin flipping Theory. So this is just a way to continue to tease that A-Town Down Under are going to split up. I am very intrigued by this, and the absolute highlight is the reason Terence Crawford was on SmackDown the last 2 weeks is because he has a big fight the same night as SummerSlam. And I tell you, the old regime would not have done that. We are living in new times. When Cody Rhodes came out to cut a promo and he essentially said, well, I'm alone right now. I don't have any friends because the Bloodline killed him. It just means he's going to have to use extra fire to ensure he keeps the championship at SummerSlam because we can't have it go back to the Bloodline and Solo Sikoa because do you remember what they did last time? It was not good. He also used to think that Solo Sikoa wasn't ready, but now he's not so sure. He kind of teased that he was on the fence with this and he had to go home and do some mathematics when he said, this made me laugh, Solo, I want to see you in the ring next week. Why don't you just fight him now? Now look, there is no such thing as a bad Cody Rhodes promo. I could not be more invested in this man if I tried. But given that SmackDown is only a couple of weeks away, even I was a bit like, I think we should have done something a little bit more over the top. And I, unlike a lot of people, think Solo Sikoa is ready for this position, because if we don't put brand new stars in these kind of spots, how the hell are they meant to grow and become stars themselves? But even still, given that it is going to be the main event of Hot WrestleMania, I just think you needed to add some extra oomph to it. And I suppose because this SmackDown was taped, instead we held fire and we are just waiting for 7 days' time. I'm just a stupid fan. Sat on my couch, bro. Just getting it down. As does this, because it made me laugh out loud. Because Carmelo Hayes found Andrade and he just went, listen, whatever we have between us isn't over, even though you beat me. That's like, actually, Carmelo, in the world of wrestling, that does indeed mean it's over. Carmelo, however, sees it a bit differently because he's going to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying until he does get the win. Andrade was like, that sounds like a lot of work, man, but I tell you what, I shall give you one more match. So I'm giving that down 2. That's right, I'm in some weird negative hut today, but this ties into everything I've just said. Andrade is awesome, Carmelo Hayes is awesome, you can come up with whatever story you want, as opposed to, please, can I have another match? And the other guy being like his dad going, oh, fine, just leave me alone. And look, I don't mind them fighting again. That last one was pure fire, but especially because it is WWE, you want to make sure it has the sports entertainment around it. When we got to our main event, which was indeed Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton taking on Bayley and Michin, well, kinda, as soon as this match did start, the heels took out Michin, and she was dead on the floor by ringside. And did anybody come out to help her? No. It just meant that Bayley had to go it alone, so of course Nia Jax and Tiffany just beat her. They beat her and they beat on her, until Michin did try to get back into the match. Nia Jax just went, nope, and she murked her again. It also led to the strangest 1-2 ever, because she smashed Michin with a Samoan drop on the outside, and it's okay, because she is Samoan. We're back in the ring. Tiffany Stratton was giving the stink face to Bayley. I was just like, it's a strange world we're living in. Eventually, when Stratton went for her handspring elbow, though, Bayley was able to get out the way, meaning that Tiffany crashed into Tina the turnbuckle, and that's when, I'm sorry, there's no two ways about it, Michin must have taken her Phoenix down. She was good to go. She got the hot tag, and look, I'm just going to say, I did quite like this. She got her moment and she ran wild. She also hit a big DDT and a big old dive, because again, 2024 wrestling, when she tagged Bayley back in there, I was like, man, you must have taken a med kit too. And she was able to hit a big elbow for a 1-2. This one, the referee couldn't handle what was going on. He was just spinning around, and when they weren't looking, Tiffany went, ha ha, and she smacked Bayley with the briefcase, so she was dead. Nia Jax didn't have a problem with this either, so she dragged her over to the corner and she hit the Annihilator to get the 1-2-3. So now I'm super confused. She did just pin the champion. And I've been saying that's going to happen at SummerSlam, and now I'm not so sure. While I thought this was a little bit silly Billy, given everything with Michin, I actually did like this, because in a build-up to a pay-per-view premium live event, you always want to go, well, maybe the challenger can win, and here we've also thrown in that she's got a brand new friend in Tiffany Stratton who will cheat on her behalf, and that should have always been the aim here, let you know that together, they are gonna run riot. So it's nothing special, nothing to write home about, your mum wouldn't care anyway, trust me, I've tried before, but I am gonna give it an up. Like, it's not going to change your life or anything, but I thought it at least did a decent job in getting where we need to go. What? Which meant that this week's episode of SmackDown did end with quite the Bloodline promo, because Santos Escobar was like, 1, we are going to bring all the championships back to this group because we need them, but also 2, Roman Reigns, if you don't like that, you know where to find me. I was like, is it in this dark room you're always in solo? Because if so, he definitely doesn't. Of course, the big old tease is that come hot WrestleMania SummerSlam, Roman Reigns will return, and that's what we should do. Listen, I'm getting older, and I essentially live my life for mega pops, and my word, that one will be massive. So I do have to admit that overall this SmackDown is not as good as it has been recently, again, just because it was a taped one and we're just waiting till next week. Doesn't mean that it was a bad watch or anything, there was just a lot of holdovers, right? A lot of, I'm going to wait right now because I don't want to do much of anything else, but I'm still going to get an up. I think we should reserve the downs for the truly bad episodes, and this one was like a 6 out of 10. Now, of course, though, my friends, please do leave me a comment below in case you agree or disagree with me. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen, which is ups and downs for AEW Dynamite as we continue to support all of wrestling. Otherwise, that's it. Apologies for the weird presentation today. It will resume next week. See you soon.